Andy, I want to be very careful to not inundate you with information. I appreciate you reaching out and looking at videos and taking an interest. I'm going to post this one in public, though, so I'll make it in such a way that it is to you, but it's also to other people. That way, it can kind of serve a dual purpose. Everyone else, my name is Dan Paulson, and welcome to the channel. I've been working on exposing the templates of myth and religion from antiquity, showing why all the similarities are there. But it's a difficult process. It is very complicated, and I'm working on trying to figure that out here because I don't have anybody to figure it out with. So I'm on the YouTube channel here trying to post videos, trying to figure it out, and trying to connect with like-minded people. It is a very difficult and slow process, so I appreciate it if you're patiently watching along. The templates. Yeah, I kind of just go off and say, here's the templates, assuming people do that. There's a couple of things that I have problems with that I realize. My wife will help me out too and let me know that I go all over the place. Frankly, that's how I found the material. The template is there. I would never have found it. And if I had read the Bible, I would never have found that template. If I had read any single thing from antiquity, I would not have found the template. It took reading a lot of different things before I started spotting similarities enough before I realized, okay, there's something patterned in these, all of them. I think I've talked with people that are like the Bible and Greek stuff that are like, yeah, there's some similarities there. Look like maybe Homer and Genesis, there's some copying going on or sharing or something like that. So if you start bringing in more material, you begin seeing similarities. But if you continue to bring in more and more, you see more and more similarities. But something that maybe not everybody detects is that, we're very much pattern seekers, and that these patterns will, that if they're shared components, what you can also notice is, they're not only shared components, but they're shared about the same place in the story. And you start spotting other similarities that happen in there as well. And then you develop this conceptual way of reading it. And it is easier done than said. And then the analysis goes from there. So at some point I realize eventually that there are steps in a human life, how it comes about and how it heals if you want to interact with it very specifically. Boom. Those are the two templates. Human life, human healing. Creation up to, in the Bible, creation up to God wanting to flood the earth is the human life cycle. Noah being called is the beginning of the first self-healing cycle. What would be called a monomyth, but it's not exactly a monomyth. Okay, the problem that I'm having is I'm trying to show people, I think, how I crawled in from the outside, which means the way my head works is I keep pulling examples from all over, and my wife will let me know, honey, I listen to you politely, but I don't know most of what you're saying. I don't know those books. I don't know those things. It's just too much. And I know I do that, but that's how I found it. So I make comparisons, and I do the comparisons trying to say, like, here, everybody, here's proof. It shows up all over the place in different places. And there's something I've got going on upstairs. I'm not quite sure what it is. So I don't know the best way to do it. It is really huge. I need to dig into it in a different way, but I need experienced outside help that could look at me and say, okay, yeah, I see what you got going on. Here's what you need to focus on. So I know the templates. I know how to find the templates. I know how the templates are made. I know what the templates are for. I know how to interact with the templates. I know how the parts are set up as far as cycles and cause and effect and all of that held into the stories. And I know how to just say, here's how you interact with yourself. Here's how you self-heal. This is what the template gets to. I have all of those parts, and it's just so much. So I need to figure out a new approach. And I think what I need to do maybe is to really try to very specifically outline the two templates as close as possible. They're going to be flexible because I keep finding it's very big. You find different parts in different places. And some parts of depending on where the template comes from, it contains additional information that are not part of the template, but are part of a storytelling network. It's just going to go on and on. So I guess I'm talking about those as I'm learning about those, which makes it seem very convoluted, I'm certain. As much as it works in my head, I also realize that It's not collated. There's a mess. I've got a lot of stuff up there that I think I can sort and pick, but it's not very lined up right now. And it's getting close though, I think. And, honestly, the channel has been a moving target because what I'm doing is a moving target for 2.5 years now. Starts off interpreting Jesus and Buddha and saying, I think there's a lot of similarities here. That karma and the measure you meet are pretty close. Then here you are 2.5 years later going, oh yeah, they're all the same. Everybody. They just, big stories, little stories. There's 2 templates nested in here that covers it all. I do want to talk about that just a little bit, the templates. And people might say, yeah, we know all about that monomyth template. A couple people know about a creation template, but the creation template isn't exactly right either. Creation in the Bible is the beginning of the human life, but the human life template goes all the way up to where the world is raucous and needs to die. So that's the entire template right there. Creation itself is not the entire template. How do you get there, though? How do you know that's a human life template? Once you realize there's a monomyth and that this is Noah is a calling. The world has to be flooded out. There's a calling. Oh, what happens next? Now we've got a Tower of Babel. Starts out everybody's together, but in the end it's destroyed. This entire structure is destroyed and it's spread out all over the place. That represents us starting out in life, being combined and then being scattered all over later. So even though it's carrying something for their culture, at the same time, it is still patterned on that. We get down to Abram. Abram is God's chosen. Abram, there we go. We just recognized Noah was chosen, then he's gone. Now Abram is chosen. So we got the second chosen right there. So I realized there's a series of monomyths, and you keep backing up, and you finally quit running. You finally stop, but you go, there's something up front here that's not a monomyth. What is that? Monomyths start as soon as I start self-healing. Is it possible that this is about me up to the point where I needed to heal? Bingo, there you go. That's why I say there's 2 myths. Human creation myth and then a self-healing myth. Then during interpretation, that'll be in other videos because it gets really big on each step. That would be interpreted out then to see how that works. I got a lot of videos up on it if you want to dig into that too. And it just to get there took a lot. I think what I have to do maybe is identify the templates. How does this sound? Start with like maybe what I believe the actual monomyth template is, modified from Joseph Campbell's. The calling, that's fine. Refusal of the call, all right. There is also supernatural aid. There is no supernatural aid. Crossing of the threshold, that's turning inward. Meeting with the goddess, that's meeting with your subconscious. Atonement with the Father, that's reconnecting with the higher being. So we have to make some corrections in his verbiage. He left them analogous. He didn't completely transition them into interactive mental steps, though I'm pretty sure he knew that's exactly what they were. He may have done that on purpose just to leave it a little obscure. I don't know. I'm just speculating. What I can see, though, is that his template is very usable. But at some point, the template, he's still using it as an outward-looking template in his book, though it is based on an inward-looking path. All of that mirrors to the psyche. And actually, the templates come from, I'm born, there's creation. I separate conscious and subconscious. There's the higher and the lower. There's things that are happening in the stories that denote my life. Then the sin, the exposure to the world, life, things going bad. It continues to go on. It procreates. And by that, I mean that if something, the things that you judge left in place, not resolved, we continue to have experiences throughout life that trigger those, that activate them, that help them grow. They get bigger. This is procreating and getting bigger. And we get corrupted. It's held in the story in strange ways. The sons of God coming down and going into the beautiful daughters of man. Okay, the beautiful daughters of man represents our qualities as a youngster. Our beautiful daughters are our love, our innocence, our acceptance, our joy, our ability to look at 10 different people that look 10 different ways and have 10 different colors and simply see 10 people and not colors, not religions. However, looking back on most people's lives, we see that it doesn't always remain that way. I mean, some people it does. There's a lot of people that are just, they don't connect like that. But most people get hooked into and lose those qualities. I now no longer trust everybody. I shouldn't. But now I don't like that person. I've got something against that person. I've got shame for this over here. That these things begin to happen, and that is what is being held in an analogous verbiage, letting us know that the offspring of ours, our young daughters, these are things that can be corrupted because analogously they're using females as something that can be corrupted. That's the way the Jews are doing it. Bastards. Okay. That is how we have to extract it, though. The female is our inner being, and its offspring are male or female. The male can go off and do stuff and cause trouble. The females are the ones who are going to be carrying the trouble. That's who's left over. The females represent our qualities, our characteristics. It's simply a term saying, yeah, a man and a woman have a child. There you go. A conscious and a subconscious have an experience. There you go. That is as simple as it is. The young daughters have been corrupted by life experiences, who the sons of God. This is in our minds. This is a part of us. This is life experience. And it is being held in a way that in America today, there are still, some Baptist church getting rid of churches because they let women in charge or something. Those people might as well be living in tents 3,500 years ago. Yeah, they might as well. That's just insane that people cannot use 2 brain cells to figure out what the hell is going on. What is also rough is knowing that there are children being born into those environments right now that are being conditioned and programmed as if that is reality. They're going to grow up and be just like, unless they find a way to break out of it. It's perpetuating tribal behavior, period. Tribal behavior. See where I go? This is why I need somebody to say, stay on task. You're going all over the place. All right. This is what I should do, I think. Maybe as best as I can, identify the template, and then maybe on a video say, okay, here's the calling. Instead of going through what I'm doing, say, let's just take the calling, step 1, and then we'll bring up different material. Here's how it appears in, this story in Greek myth, or in this part of the Bible, or in this part of the Bible, or, in some other, in Hinduism. There are callings that happen to bring people on the monomyth, and they're identified in certain ways. You can see how that happens. So we can go through the calling. Then the denial, we'll go through and look for that. Cyclical issues, different videos, just taking a step along the way. How would that be, maybe? I think that the templates I don't have 100% identified. I know I don't. I think I've got fairly close, but I continue to find things that are different. I mean, you could go through a lot of templates and never find something like in the Romans, the Jesus material. There's a point where we're being taught that a surgeon doesn't heal his own family, or a doctor doesn't heal his own family, and a prophet doesn't teach his town, or something like that. Some words to that effect. And these are, as we get into the psyche, there's a few things that are happening the way these verses work. Some verses play out completely in the psyche. Some verses play out in your life, but they're still about you. And these ones here don't play out in the psyche. What these are is telling us about what's going to happen in life. If I am in an environment and I'm learning this and I'm growing and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm turning inward, I'm making inroads, I can't turn to the left or right and say, hey, guess what I just learned? You're going to love this. They won't. If you're healing, if you're in a group of people that are studying and learning, that's not what I mean. I mean, if you are in a group where you are growing, you are healing, you are emerging your pain, your shame, your hurt, and you're among your friends because you belong with your friends, because you fit with your friends, you are going to cease to fit. What you don't know is that we are matching and connecting in a lot of ways, because what we're holding up here that we know are similar and what we don't know are similar. And as we begin to cease to hold that pain and the shame and are able to freely bring it out, think of yourself of bringing up something you don't want to bring out, how bad it feels. someone around you is doing stuff like that, it doesn't feel okay. They're going through this experience where they're not going to like you. They're not going to want to hear what you have to say. You're not going to fit there anymore. Those are not held in every teaching. So there are parts that emerge later that are things that can be added in to the template. And they're more about life experiences. They're not necessarily about healing, but they're about what's going to happen to you once you start healing and how your life experience might change, and you need to be prepared for it. You know, it may not fit in a group. That depends on the severity of the change. I want to make sure that that's clear. If you're looking at this material and say, I got one thing in my past that I don't have dealt with, but my life is good, you deal with that, you're probably not going to have really much of a change. You're just going to feel good. You've gone through a flood and boom, you could be naked and unashamed for the rest of your life. Drunk in a tent, go for it. Yeah, I'll get to that. That's on a different video. See, that's where I jump into things and bring in examples and people go, what does that have to do with what you're talking about? That's what I struggle with. It makes perfect sense to me to say that. Noah, after the flood, was us. In the tent, he destroyed. No, what happened is that the world was destroyed. The earth he was on was destroyed. But on the other side, he created a vineyard. What he did is he destroyed. What happened was the earth represents yourself. The vineyard represents yourself. The flood, you destroyed your old self, and now you have a new self. You've planted a vineyard there in your new self. And from that, you make wine and you drink wine. This is making you feel better. This is now I have a new place and I feel better because of what I get from that place. And now I've stripped naked. I'm in my dwelling, my space, my tent, and I'm naked. That was a good thing right there. That's why I say that. The rest of the story, I won't get into it. It goes downhill. The Bible's written in a weird way. People don't understand sometimes. They're pushing and pulling the story. The perspectives are different. You can't read it plain language. And I'm at a point where I can read these things conceptually as I go. But however, there was a time not that long ago, if somebody had done this in my presence, I would have thought, what is that guy even talking about? It's something you have to grow into. And as far as seeing him, once you know the template's there, it's actually easier. So maybe that's what I should do. What do you guys think? I'll do my best to identify the template and then start at one step. Yeah, here's the calling. Let's go look at Genesis. How many times does it happen? Let's go to Greek myth. What do we see? Let's go to the Mahabharata from the Hindus. Let's see what happens here. And then just, go through steps like that as we go along. I think it would teach a lot. I would like to keep going through Genesis as well. But I've actually kind of stopped. It's the exchange. I'm not certain how to proceed. And I'm running out of gas because there's no one to talk to. I'm still doing the studies. I just am kind of dropping the videos, the interest in. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing even. Is it supposed to be something you just find out yourself and to each their own? I think times are so different. We don't have time to sort through this anymore. It was a long time ago. We're very busy. People need to know this is what you got to do right here. Do it. Jump on it. It takes courage. If you can't do it, you're not only going to whimper and have a bad life, but you're going to hurt other people along the way. Well, the extreme ones. We weren't in charge of the way our lives came about. We're learning how to take charge of the way we are and then changing that, which causes us then to emerge from the physical connections. It's not like you're floating up above things. You're just not connected to it. You're not all wrapped up in the things going on. Okay, I'll wrap this up. Andy, I hope it doesn't inundate you. I'm not even going to message you. I'm just going to put this out there. If you find it, you find it. If not, everybody else, it'll be there. Thanks. Love one another. See you in the next video.